Anyone got a pencil? Hello and welcome to the Mixtape podcast. My name's Mark and I am your host. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. Every week on the show, I ask my guests to make up an imaginary mixtape and pick 6 tracks for it. I've had some incredible chats. They're already there in the archives, just waiting for you to stumble across them. I've had chats with Steve Kilby from The Church, Rowetta from The Happy Mondays, Rick from Ash. I've had Al Anderson, one of the original Wailers. I've had Clint Boone from Your Spiral Carpets. I've had Donita Sparks from L7. I've had Scott Kirkland from The Crystal Method. There's lots and lots of episodes sitting there waiting for you to discover. If you enjoy this week's episode, please feel free to rate it 5 stars on Spotify and or jump up to the top of the page and hit that old follow or subscribe button, and you'll be notified every time there is a new episode. Catch up with everything I'm doing by going to www.themixtapepodcast.com. That's enough for the intro. I hope you enjoy this week's episode. This week on the show, I'm joined by phone all the way from England by John Steele, the original drummer from the Animals' iconic 60s blues invasion band, The Animals. And John joined me by phone, and there was a little bit of confusion about times, and so I didn't actually get a chance to do the proper intro. So here we go. Joining me on this week's show, it's an absolute privilege to be talking to John Steele from The Animals. You're coming down under February and March 2024. You're coming to Newcastle, Wollongong, Paddington, Rozelle, Tweedhead, Adelaide, Albury and Doncaster. It's metropolistouring.com for tickets there. Has it been a good while since you were down under, John?
Yeah, we didn't get over down under until last year at all. I think the last time was 2019. Yeah. As far as I remember.
The Animals, obviously, iconic band, particularly in the early 60s, that sort of British blues invasion. What was it like? Like, House of the Rising Sun, obviously, it was your big hit. Like, how was it for you, like, going, when that sort of single came out, and, was it kind of, a big change in your career and the venues you were playing and stuff like that, and the fame, or how was it for you, mate?
Oh, it was absolutely a big thing. It was literally life-changing, Mm-hmm. Until then, we were basically a bunch of working-class Geordies from a provincial industrial city in the northeast. And the next thing you know, when that single took off, the next thing after being number one in the UK, it swiftly followed up by being number one in the United States. So that summer where from being just one sort of single with a slight tickle in the charts, suddenly we had number one, and we were heading off to play our first gigs in New York, which was the Paramount Theatre in Times Square, and
wow.
I mean, it was literally life changing because we were sort of teenagers in the 1950s, and everything that inspired us or influenced us seemed to be coming from across the Atlantic,
Sure. Yeah.
And it was music, books, movies, just about anything you can name. It seemed to come from America, and but at the same time, it was like another kind of, we only knew America from what we saw on the silver screen kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Only the rich people could go, and business people could go to it to actually experience it. And then all of a sudden we're in a big transatlantic jet heading for New York, and we landed and we got a motorcycle escort into Manhattan.
That must have been mind blowing.
It was literally, it was funny. I mean, that was comical. When we got there, the PR, the MGM people in the record company got together with a British motor car, sports car, Triumph, mm-hmm. Who had a new model out called the Triumph Tiger. So somebody went, Animals, Tiger.
There's a tie-in.
So there was five 5 triumph tigers lined up, each with a beautiful model in a basque and fishnet stockings and a tiger's tail and whiskers.
Wow.
And so
I imagine that was a sight.
It was hysterically funny. I mean, and, complete with the motorcycle escort. This was our introduction.
Yeah.
Our introduction to the American scene.
It's a bit of a change from getting around the northeast in a full transit. I imagine that you probably sort of thing you were doing before.
That's exactly right.
Okay, and I wanted to talk to you as well, John. Like the gigs you're doing now. Obviously, you're the sole surviving original member of the Animals, touring with the band now.
Yeah.
Like, what's the gig sort of the demographic like at your gigs now? Like, is it a mixture, or young and old, or how do you find it now when you play live?
Yeah, it's very much a mixture, Mark. I really enjoy the fact that we get a lot of young people coming, and we do a sort of bit of a meet and greet generally after the show.
Oh, cool!
And
yeah.
It's amazing how many, a bunch of young guys will be in their late teens or something in the first band, and they're really sort of. One of the things about the Animals that I always say is that the strength of the songs is so good that they're just kind of gone right across the generation. So there's many times in the audience I can see people of that age group, they're singing along, and they know all the words. I mean, I don't even know all the words.
That's unreal. I imagine most of the youngsters, John, like me, House of the Rising Sun was probably their sort of first introduction to the guitar. As young men, even in this day and age, it's a standard song to learn. Do you know what I mean, in terms of chord progression and picking pattern?
Absolutely. Yeah, spot on. Yeah, I mean the number of times some of these people, when we'll meet people after the show and that, and there's the number of times they'll say, that was the first song I learned on the first electric guitar I ever bought, or the first acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
It's been such an influential song that.
Absolutely. Were you aware, John, like, when it was, even after it went to number one, excuse me, did you have any idea that the kind of impact it was going to have? And, did you think you'd be sitting here, what would it be, 60 plus years later, talking to me about how the song's still going strong?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal thing. I mean, it is. It's 60 years next year since it was released. And it was a big thing, definitely a life changer. But for different reasons, we gradually began to realise it was even more important than we thought. We nicked the song originally from Bob Dylan's very first album, his debut album, which was acoustic folk songs. And we thought that, and the first proper tour we did when we shifted from Newcastle to London, we got signed up to an agency, Don Arden Agency, to play support to Chuck Berry on his first visit to the UK. And it was a sellout 3-week tour, two shows a night, sellout every night. And jazz, there was several bands on, and Carl Perkins was also in the lineup, who wrote Blue Suede Shoes.
Yeah.
And jazz, very, very cleverly, he became a manager after the Animals. This was where his manager hat came on. He said, everybody's going to be playing rock, so we should give them something different, And we were rehearsing, kicking this song around to, get the right arrangement. And he says, that would be perfect, And he was dead right. We started playing House of the Rising Sun, and you could feel the response from the audience,
Yeah.
And so halfway through the tour, we ducked into a little studio in London where we'd made our first single. It was only a basic place. It was mono desk, it was really primitive. And we knocked it off in one single take because we didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, it was number one, and we were jetting off to the States. It was, and of course, one of the things we arranged was to meet up with Bob Dylan as soon as we could, because we were big fans of his anyway. And he was based in Greenwich Village at the time. And we managed to get a pub crawl in Greenwich Village with Bob Dylan. But before we went out on the town, we were in his manager's house, his apartment, and he played us the stuff he was working on at the time.
Yeah.
He was in the studio, and he was recording his first electric folk kind of crossover stuff, like a Rolling Stone. He played us some rough tracks, and he said, I was driving my car, listening to the radio, and I heard you guys' version of The House of Rising Sun, and he had a light bulb moment, and he said, that's the way to go, you know.
That's a decent person to influence, John, for sure. Wow. I never knew that story. That's a great story. Superb.
And the other thing about it was it was the first single to be longer than 2.5, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That was the industry norm at the time.
Yeah.
And when we were listening to the playback in the control room, Mickey Most, the producer, said, "That's a hit record," you know. And I said, "Oh, great." And then the engineer on the desk said, "There's a problem there, Mickey." He said, "It's 4.5 minutes long. You're not going to play it on the BBC." I remember the words exactly. Mickey said, "Hell with that. We're in the vinyl age now."
Superb. Oh, that's brilliant. Just going back to the tours, John, like those package tours that used to happen. Like if these days, if an enterprising promoter could put something like that together now, I think it would be an absolute winner. Like, yeah, those package tours that you used to get on in the 60s, like some incredible, iconic artists used to tour together, like, Johnny Cash and Elvis used to get out together, and like you were mentioning there with Carl Perkins and the Animals, like, yeah, just amazing packages. Like, it'd be superb if a promoter sort of put something like that together these days, like, the smaller venues. I'm not talking about big festivals, but, a smaller venue like those theatres that you used to play.
Oh, yeah 2,000, 3,000 capacity theatres, that kind of thing. I mean, one of the tours that we went as a band, we were resident at the Club of Go-Go in Newcastle, and on the Newcastle Odeon, which is a 3,000 cap venue, it was in a cinema, but they put live shows on, and we booked ourselves into. It was the Everly Brothers, Bo Diddley, and a new group with a new single called the Rolling Stones.
Wow, that is ridiculous lineup.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
We were playing that night at our sort of venue, so we couldn't stay for the whole show. So all 5 of us are in a row in the stalls. We particularly wanted to see Bo Diddley. We loved Elvis, the Everly Brothers, but we had to leave. So before the Everly Brothers came on, we all stood up and walked out.
Poor Don and Phil.
I mean, we were well in the city, and it was so embarrassing, because people thought we were walking out on the Everly Brothers. We would love to have stayed, but we had to go to work,
We'll drop into the mixtape section.
Do you want me to read them back to you?
No, I will go through them one at a time, mate. So track 1, John, is I always ask people when they're making up a mixtape to, track 1's always going to be an attention grabber, like a, one that's going to kick off the tape in good style. What did you pick for that one, mate?
I picked a song from one of my wife's favourite albums, which is a compilation of Stax and Atlantic Soul, and it's a track called Knock on Wood by Eddie Floyd.
Oh, yes. Great choice.
It's a great song, and there's a little bit of a story attached, because all those Stax records were backed mainly by the Booker T and the
MGs. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And we got to tour with Steve Cropper, the guitarist, as our special guest.
Oh, nice.
We did 2 or 3 UK tours with him, and he co-wrote so many of those songs. With those Otis Redding, Wilson Pickett, Eddie Floyd, Sam and Dave. He got co-writing credits for a lot of songs with that, and this was one of his.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And so I found myself being in the band backing Steve Cropper, where he knocked through all these great songs that he'd been a part of.
Fantastic.
And Knock on Wood was one of my favourites out of that lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Fantastic choice, John, to kick off your mixtape. Okay, track 2 of your mixtape, John. What's the song that you sing when you're on your own in the car or the shower, mate?
Well, there's a few, but this one It was Ain't That a Shame by Fats Domino.
Oh, yes.
Good sing-along song from the 50s. And there's a little bit of story attached to that as well. I'm going to bore you too much.
No, go for it, mate. That's what the tape's all about.
I was always a jazz fan from being in the very early teens, and I started off being fascinated by the New Orleans jazz of the early 20th century. And then in the 1970s, the district were called Storyville in New Orleans, where most of the musicians worked, was shut down by the U.S. Navy. And all these guys, there was a diaspora of musicians who went mainly to Chicago and Memphis and New York and all over the place. And I used to think that was the end of New Orleans music, but it wasn't. I didn't realize that music just continues to evolve in New Orleans. I was, not until I went there by, in person to get the vibe of the place. But Fats Domino in the 50s, he was the first evidence of that involvement in New Orleans with his band. There's something particularly recognizable about the New Orleans time and the beat, which is based on the marching bands. Anyway, that was the first time I realized that music in New Orleans had not died. It was still alive and kicking, and Fats Domino was the first guy who really got out, with hit records. And I love that song.
No,
there's another one.
That's another fantastic choice, John. I've got a feeling this is going to be a cracking mixtape you're picking here. Okay, track 3, John, is a cover version, mate. What did you pick for that?
Well, purely because I recently saw a live recording at Drury Lane Theatre in London, a famous old theatre, in the 1980s, and I saw a beautiful live concert by Randy Crawford with a brilliant band and orchestra, and it was a lovely show. I hadn't seen it before, but I just watched it fairly recently, and I love her stuff anyway. But she did a very, very good version of Imagine.
Oh, okay.
John Lennon's Imagine.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very, very impressive. So that's my choice of a cover version.
You've just put One Day I'll Fly Away in my head, John. That's one of those songs that sort of I love, but now and again it just disappears out my brain, and then all of a sudden someone will say something, and like you did just then, you mentioned Randy Crawford. One Day I'll Fly Away. It's one of my all-time favourite songs. It's superb.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I got really good memories of that on Top of the Pops back in what would it be? Very early 80s, I would say. I think she's wearing like a white silk dress or something like that. That's a memory, but massively sort of underrated vocalist, I think, Randy Crawford. It's just superb set of pipes on her.
Well, I would definitely, if you can get a hold of it, it's Randy Crawford live at Drury Lane, and it was in the early 1980s, and it was just recently shown again. So if you get a chance to catch it, it's a really good show.
No, I will, for sure. So what I do, John, on the radio show, I drop the tracks in that we're talking about in between us talking about them, and then so people can hear what we're talking about. It gives it a bit more context. But if you're listening to this on the podcast, there will be a link in the description of the podcast, and there'll be a separate Spotify playlist where you can drop in and listen to the tracks that John and I are talking about. Track 4, John, of your mixtape is a song you wish you could have played to your 18-year-old self. What would you go with there, mate?
Well, funnily enough, this is another thing that goes back to the 80s, but my daughter, who's a big music fan, took me, I was staying down on the south coast where she lives now, and she took me to an art house cinema there to see a movie that was made in 1983, but it's just been, digitally remastered and brought out again on a general release, and it was Talking Heads Stop Me.
Oh yeah.
And it's, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's bloody brilliant. It's a terrific film.
It's on my list.
I'd heard of Not Making Sense. Sorry?
It's on my watch list of things I need to watch, but yeah, it comes up on my Facebook social media feeds quite a bit. Like that.
Yeah, I've got the vinyl album, but I've never even heard of the film. But my daughter put me right because she's my mentor when it comes to keeping up with what's going on. And the track I picked off of that was "Once in a Lifetime," which is extraordinary. And, it just knocked me out.
I'm a bit of a T-shirt collector, John. I've got over 100 band and music related T-shirts, and my ex-wife thinks I've got a little bit of a problem, and I'm starting to think she might be right. But one of the T-shirts I've got is a pie chart. And all the sections of the chart are like, how do I work this? How did I get here? Am I right? Am I wrong? Yeah, and it's like a pie chart, but with the lyrics. It's one of my favourite T-shirts. Yeah, it's a really good one. Yeah, and again, fantastic choice, John.
The next one was a song to let the listener know you are romantically interested.
Yes, if you're trying to woo someone.
What I chose was a song from the later Leonard Cohen, the album called The Future, 1992, and he sang Always, which is a great old classic sort of, one of the American book songs.
Yeah.
But he just does such a great version of it. When it's quite funny as well, and it's a great arrangement. But you can tell he's really enjoying doing it. Yeah. Because he's sometimes he's a bit. Some of his songs are very, very sad.
Yeah.
But this version of Always, I thought it always makes me smile.
Yeah, I don't know that one. I'll have to look that one up. That's one of the joys I get out of doing this format of radio show and podcast is I get introduced to so much new stuff by people like yourself, John, that I can check out and look into.
It's a great version. It's very, very funny, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. But anyway, that's my choice for that.
I'll definitely look that one up. And finally, John, the last track for your mixtape, something that's a little bit maybe obscure, a bit left field, a B-side or an album track or something like that.
Well, I picked, without realising, to me, it's one of my favourite tracks from an old Allman Brothers album called Brothers and Sisters from 1980s, I think, 70s. And the version of the album I've got, it's a vinyl. It's also a promotional copy, so it's a white label.
Yeah.
And on the album sleeve, there's absolutely no information at all.
Okay.
But I always loved this track, particularly for the brilliant piano solo on it, and it's Rebecca. And I just before this morning, I thought. I looked at I got the album out of it, and I thought, well, there's no information on here. It's I'll find out who the piano player was,
Yeah.
So I went online and brought it up, and the player was called Chuck Leavell, Leavell.
Chuck Leavell, yeah. I think he played. I know him from. He played on Eric Clapton's Unplugged album. He was a keyboard player on that.
He's done loads of stuff. Yeah, you did a lot of stuff. And in this thing I've got on Google, it says he played, especially on the Allman Brothers' Rebecca, where he plays a piano solo that is reckoned to be one of the best rock and roll piano solos ever recorded.
Wow. Okay. I'll definitely check that one out.
It's not obscure, but I didn't realise how important it was. But there you go. It always blew me away anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely, for sure. That's a fantastic track. John, I really appreciate you putting the effort that you did into picking them tracks and doing the research for me and stuff like that. I really appreciate that, mate. There's not many people put that much effort in. So thanks so much for that, John. Looking forward to seeing you down under, mate. Safe travels. It's metropolistouring.com for tickets, and it's February and March, Newcastle, Wollongong, Paddington, Rozelle, Tweed Heads, Adelaide, Albury and Doncaster. Thanks so much, John. Safe travels, mate, and I'll see you when you get here.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Look forward to seeing you. It's been great.
Likewise, mate.
Great questions. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers, mate. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. That was the Mixtape podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to jump up to the top of the page and smash that follow button, and you'll be notified every time there's a new episode. Or follow me on Instagram @TheMixtapePerf. Till the next time.